to the Football Appreciation YouTube channel. Now, Wolsey season is over, NUNO's over, and it's going to be a new start. But before that, I thought, you know what, let's do a tier list. Let's kind of rank every player. And like, look, this probably won't mean anything now that NUNO's not here. You know, every single player here is probably going to get a second chance under Bruno Lage. I mean, it looks like it's going to be Bruno Lage anyway. I'll have a video out on then. When Bruno Lage is confirmed, I'll do a video about that. But so I'm going to put them in player season nominee. Let's be honest, there'll be only one player in there. Good, okay, poor, and then get rid of them. For loan players, so like Rafa Mir, for example, I'm kind of going to judge it on how well he's done to give himself a chance, if that makes sense. So like, let's just start with Rafa Mir. So I think Rafa Mir, obviously he's not playing for Wolves, but he's done a good job in giving himself a chance to come back. Whereas, let's say, Bruno Jordão hasn't, so I put him in loan. Do you know what I mean? Like, Rafa Mir isn't a good footballer, if you get what I mean. Like, if you look at Rafa Mir's numbers, obviously he's scored 13 goals and his XG is 13, so that shows that he is hitting at a good rate. It's not like everything he's hitting is just going in. But if you look at his numbers, the only two things he's good at is getting shots and winning headers. He's basically just Chris Wood. Like, look at those numbers, then look at Chris Wood. They're literally identical footballers. And that's not a bad thing. Maybe Bruno Lage will love that. But I think he's had a good productive season, whereas Bruno Jordão has hardly played. Let's go Mars. By the way, subscribe to the channel. There'll be more videos out. I'm going to do a video in a few days about who I'd buy this summer for Wolves. I'm going to give myself a budget and kind of build the squad. But yeah, anyway, Marcel. I think Marcel's the most basic footballer I've ever seen in my life, and it'd be interesting to see if Bruno Lage does come in, if he kind of stays. I assume he will, because there's no point selling him, right? You're not going to get any money for him. But he's not really an attacking fullback. But whenever he has played, I think he's been okay. Catrone, just get rid of him. I love the guy, but his numbers are awful. Like, he's a good presser, and that's about it. Like, he's played at 3 different leagues now and not got a chance under 4 different managers. To me, that's concerning. He's just kind of like, he's a good presser. 25 pressers is ridiculous. He's in the top 1% in Europe, but he doesn't offer anything else bar that. And yeah, I think if someone offered me 3 million, 4 million for him, I'd take it right now. John Ruddy's been fine whenever he's played. Sondergaard got out on loan. Rui Patricio, I think, has had an okay season for his standards. You know, I did a Premier League goalkeeper tier list a few days ago, and I spoke about Rui. He's a very consistent goalkeeper. I think he's had a bit of a down year this year, but I wouldn't sell him. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's helped by how shaky our defence is, but I think it's just been a fine year for him. But I think he can improve. Bonatini, just get rid of him. Sarkic, I think he's actually been quite good on loan, but you probably want him to go out again. Let's go Fabio Silva. I think Fabio Silva's had a really good year. I did a video on Fabio Silva as well, but you know, he's ended on 4 goals, 3 assists. That's 7 goal contributions in 1,400 minutes. That's a goal every 100 minutes. Also, sorry, a goal every other game, or goal or assist every other game. None of his numbers are incredible. None of them are awful either. I think he's just a very useful forward, and I think he'll thrive next season under an attacking manager, hopefully. So yeah, good season for him. Ottus Howie, he hasn't played enough, so I can't really comment on him, but he looks useful to me. And it'd be interesting. He's one of the players I'm interested to see what Bruno Lage does with in pre-season. But okay season for Ottus Howie. Corbiano loan. William Jose. I mean, he's just been poor, hasn't he? Like, I wouldn't buy him even if Real Sociedad said, you know what, we'll give you him for 5 mil. I wouldn't pay it. Like, he's good on the ball. His pass accuracy is all right. Like, he's a good hold-up guy, but he does nothing else. Like, he's not even good in the air. He doesn't press from the front. He does nothing. 20 million would be an absolute rip-off for him, in my opinion. So, poor. But I don't think it's all his fault. Dion Sanderson, really good season for him. Or at least second half of the season. That injury's kind of set him back a bit. Obviously, I would loan him out, but just on... He's given him the best shot possible for... Look, Bruno Lage might love him. Apparently, Bruno Lage likes young attacking defenders, so, you know. But it's been a good season for Dion. Ruben Vinagre, again, okay season. Terrible at Olympiacos. Pretty good at Famalicão. I'll talk about this in my video in a few days, but I'd actually keep Ruben Vinagre. Attacking young fullback Portuguese. Bruno Lage might like him. But yeah, it's been an okay season for him. His reputation hasn't dropped, but it's not really increased either. So yeah. Roman Sace. Roman says to me he's just an okay squad player. That's all he is. He's very erratic, but he can cover a few positions. He's not going to kick up a fuss if you don't play him, but personally, I think he will get sold, but I wouldn't sell him. So I'd just keep him as a squad player, but I think he'll be gone in the summer, personally. Daniel Fidenz, I think it's been a poor season for Daniel Fidenz, but I don't think it's his fault. Let me make that clear, it's not his fault. But if you look at his numbers, they're all down. Like, there's nothing in the green here. But he's been playing with injury a lot, and his numbers were really good at the start of the season, which suggests that obviously injuries have played their part, but ultimately he's had a bad season. Let's go Vitinha. Look, Vitinha's impossible to judge, same with Ottus Howie, so I'm kind of going to have to put in okay. But he'll be fully dependent on what Bruno Marshall thinks of him, because Rain Nuri I'd buy. I don't care who the manager is, I would buy Rain Nuri. I think he's had an amazing season. Whereas Vitinha, we haven't seen enough of him, but whenever he has played, I don't think he's been incredible. But it purely depends on Bruno Marshall for me, on his future. Whereas Rain Nuri, I think, is incredible. I love Rain Nuri. His numbers are amazing. I did a video on him if you want to go check it out. I'll link it at the end. Kiara Herbert, I think, has actually had a really good season as well. I'm surprised that no one's really given him much credit in our fan base. Obviously, he's only played 600 minutes, so it's kind of hard to judge him, but he's a really good carrier of the ball. He's a good dribbler. His pressures are in the top 1%, which suggests he's working hard and he knows how to press, and he's already learned that. A lot of that's probably due to being at Liverpool for so long, right? He's a good tackler for his age. He's okay in the air for someone that's not that tall. He's not great on the ball. His pass completion's quite low, and he's not, progressive carries basically just shows if you're passing the ball into an attacker's feet, and he's not doing that. But again, that's very system dependent, and that's always quite low for fullbacks who are young. But Kiara Herbert's numbers are all really good, and I think that's been a good first season for him. Same with Nelson Semedo. I'm kind of tempted to put him up here, but I know everyone would just roast me. But I think Nelson Semedo's had a great first season. He's a really good carrier of the ball, which I'm not saying that's all you need in a fullback, obviously, but Wolves are so terrible on the ball that the fact that he's good on the ball is important, if that makes sense. This is what Matt Doherty wasn't good at. His pass completion's good, which, considering how much we boot it forward, it's pretty much all we do. We just get the ball and whack it forward. The fact that his pass completion's high shows that he's a useful footballer. His pressure is pretty good. His defensive numbers are all right for someone that's played wing back for the majority of the season. I just think he's not worth £30 million, obviously, but that's not his fault. And I think if you take away the Matt Doherty money, it's kind of just a £15 million signing. We sold Matt Doherty for 15, paid 30 for Semedo, so it's 15 overall. So I think he's had a good first season. Pedro Neto, obviously a put in player of the season. There's no point even talking about it. All his numbers are really solid for someone his age. He's a brilliant carrier. He's a brilliant dribbler. He works hard. We've all watched him. I don't need to speak for his numbers. Brilliant player, who I'm sure we'll all love. And the one good thing about the injury is that he won't leave. Raul Jimenez is obviously really hard to judge because he only played 9 games, but he got 4 goals in 9 games, and we were terrible at the start of the season. So from what he has played, he had a good year. Same with Johnny. When Johnny came back from injury, he had a good season. Obviously, it's really hard to judge him because he only played, 10 games? But when he did come back, he looked like the old Johnny that we all know and love. So I kind of can't put him anywhere but good. Max Killman, I think Max Killman I'm going to put him in okay. I think whenever he's played, he's done well, but NUNO just kind of doesn't rate him. I think he's someone that Bruno Lage, he's going to have to hope that Bruno Lage takes a fancy to him, or I think his career's done. He's just turned 24. This is a big year for Max Killman, and hopefully Bruno Lage takes a fancy to him. He was kind of pivotal with Ruben Dias coming through at Benfica. I'm not saying Max Killman is Ruben Dias, by the way, but maybe Max Killman will get a chance under Bruno Lage. Same with Morgan Gibbs White. I can only really put him in okay because he hasn't really played much. But I think he's boosted his reputation in Wolves' fan base. I think our whole fan base was done with him last year, whereas now he's had a decent loan and he's had a decent last few games. A new attacking manager who does play kind of like a second striker. Maybe Morgan Gibbs White will get some minutes. So I think this has been an okay season for him. It will very much depend on next season, obviously, but based on what he has done this season, he's been okay. Willie Bolly, I think, is obviously our best centre-back. He contributes goals. I'm surprised his pass completion's so low. That surprised me. But he's a good tackler, he's decent in the air. And centre-backs are really hard to judge for using statistics, but I'm just going to use the eye test on Willie Bolly. I think he's great every time he plays. Same with Conor Cody. I don't really get why our fan base hate Conor Cody so much. He's the only defender that's played every game, really, bar Semedo, and he's kind of just been reliable every time he's played for me. I don't remember many glaring errors, personally, and I just look. He's not incredible in the back four, but I think he's useful. And I think if Conor Cody went out the side for 10 games, I think we'd appreciate him a bit more. Dendonka's been poor. Honestly, I'd consider selling Dendonka if we got a good offer. If someone put 20 million for Dendonka, I would sell him. But I'm going to put him in poor because I think he is a good squad player, and I think with Bruno Marshall's 4-4-2, he would probably work in that. But Dendonka's basically just a guy who wins headers, blocks stuff, and gets... This is touches in the attacking penalty box. For central midfielder, he's in the top 16%. So he's getting in good areas, but he's not scoring. And he blocks stuff and wins headers. That's all he does. He can't carry the ball. His passing isn't progressive. Like, his passing vision's okay, but they're just sideways passes because they're not progressive passes. And he can't dribble. He's not really pressing from midfield, and he's not putting any tackles and interceptions in. He's just a bloke that stands in the middle of the pitch, wins headers, and kind of gets in attacking areas and wastes it. Like, he's not a right squad player for me, Dendonka, but that's all he is. He's someone that sits on the bench for me and comes in certain games. That's just my opinion. You might disagree. Ruben Neves, Ruben Neves is one of those players where none of his numbers are incredible, but none of them are terrible either, bar dribbling and headers. But whenever Neves isn't in the side, I'm just nervous. And he ended our top goal scorer, right? Which it's embarrassing, isn't it? But I think, again, if Bruno Lage comes in and plays that 4-4-2, Neves will be perfect for that. He'll be absolutely perfect. But I think it's been a good... I don't know. Yeah, I think it's been a good season for Neves. Not an incredible one, but it's just been an okay season, given the amount of minutes he's played and how terrible we are. Giammattino, okay. I think it's obviously been a decline this season. I don't think he's finished at all at the top level, but I think he might be. I think he'll leave next season. Personally, I wouldn't sell him, but I think he'll be gone next season. If Bruno Lage comes in and plays that 4-4-2, we're going to have to buy two midfielders anyway, even if we keep Moutinho and Dendonka and Neves. And Moutinho's not a defensive midfielder. His defensive numbers are terrible. He doesn't offer anything physically, and you kind of need that in a two-man midfield, especially when you don't have a back five behind you and you have a back four. I think he's been okay this season for his age and the amount of minutes he's played. He started to pick up more injuries as well this season, which does concern me. He's had an okay season, but I don't think he'll be at Wolves next season personally, which would be sad. And then Odama, probably the most controversial one. I feel like some people would put him down here and some people would put him up here. I do think he's had a good season. And I know people will roast me for that or disagree with that. But, his expected assist is 5 and he's got 2 assists. So he should have at least 5 assists. And for anyone who doesn't know how expected assists to work, assists through crosses are very low rated because that's just how expected goals and expected assists work. So if he puts in a great cross and someone misses it, it's not rated as highly as someone who puts through a good through ball, which is fair enough because less people score headers, right? But I think stats don't necessarily reflect him. He's brilliant in the air. He's brilliant. He carries us. I think that's one thing people don't appreciate about him, is when other fans speak about him and say he's rubbish and he doesn't offer anything. He just carries us up the pitch. And because of how slow we are and how boring we are, he's the only guy that does that. Like, even Neto can't do that in the same way Traore does. Obviously, he's bad on the ball, but no one cares. Obviously, his progressive passes are low because he doesn't pass the ball. And, of course, his defensive numbers are low. He's not a defender. I still think he's a very useful player for us and someone that we should keep. And, again, someone that Bruno Lage will probably get the best out of. So, that's my tier list. I feel like there's a lot of people kind of just... The fact that there's only one player even in contention for player of the season shows how terrible we've been. But if you enjoyed, let me know. Subscribe, I would appreciate it. Comment. I'm sure some of you will disagree with these. I'll have a video in the next few days about Bruno Lage and who I'd buy. But I guess all we can kind of do is sit down and wait now and see what happens. Look, it might not be Bruno Lage. I've spoken about him a lot this season, this video. It might not be him, but I think it will. But yeah, subscribe, leave a comment, and peace.